Not been just this week that we've had a teenager confirmed, it's been previously, so that's not new in our statistics, but overwhelmingly they've been adult cases in the mid-range, so in their 40s and 50s. I think that reflects the international traveller population in large part. The risk is much greater for elderly people, and so those are the ones we're really critically trying to protect now. So, you can think about what the risk is for you as an individual, but you must always think about what it means if you're infected and infectious, and what that would do to your loved ones, neighbours, family, because people who are especially over 60, 65 and with pre-existing conditions are significantly at risk, and it's literally a matter of life and death, and I can't stress that enough. I don't want people to only take this seriously when hospitals are filling up or when they see that there are hundreds of cases across Australia and that are apparent, in the way that it is in Europe. That is too late to take action on social distancing. People need to do it now in order to avoid those catastrophic circumstances.
Right, with today's new cases, how many of those are community transmissions?
We've got 6 cases of community transmission now, so that has gone up from last week when it was only 2. So we are detecting more. That was expected, but it is concerning. And, even though we've talked about the fact that a lot of our cases have been return travellers, every return traveller who doesn't quarantine appropriately, who doesn't isolate themselves from others, is a potential part of a chain of transmission where we then get community transmission. So for everyone, the social distancing message needs to be at the forefront of their mind.
So with community transmission, we're really only testing high-risk groups, return travellers and their direct contacts. So yes, we've got 6 confirmed cases of community transmission, which is low. But how do we know, or how can we guess what the true rate is?
It's not easy to know the true rate of community transmission. What we do know is that those who are coming from the higher risk areas, bearing in mind that in places in Europe, 10-15% of people are turning up positive. So amongst the tests that are done, 10 or 15% are positive. So in testing those return travellers in Australia, we're getting a positivity rate, so the percent who are positive at under 1%. So if they're the high-risk group, the community transmission level is probably less than that. But again, what is 1% today might be 2% in a few days' time and 8% in a week. So we have to take action now, regardless of where that level is at. We are testing people who are in hospital regardless with respiratory illness, so that'll pick up community transmission because we're not only looking at travel history, we're doing the same for healthcare workers. So if they're exposed and they don't have a travel history, we will detect it if they're symptomatic, the same in aged care, and we're broadening that testing each and every day. It's one thing to meet the directions under the state of emergency, but these are policy messages, these are awareness messages for everyone in all places of whatever size. So you really need to try and minimise your contact with absolutely everyone. It's one thing for you to be well, but you cannot guarantee that somebody else may not be carrying COVID-19 or be unwell with COVID-19. They may have very minimal symptoms, they might be just about to develop symptoms and still be infectious. And so if you are in close contact with them, you're at risk of contracting it yourself. You may then develop illness, and it might be mild illness, and you will carry it to someone, potentially someone who's very vulnerable. And so you have to consider this in all places at all times. It is literally a life and death question.
So should people then be looking to keep children apart in the holidays?
I think so. Look, there are very challenging circumstances, as the Minister has attested to. This is not how we normally go about school holidays. It's not how we normally go about our lives. There's a big shift that we have to go through, but we have to do it now in order to make sure that we're not going on a path that Europe is on, that the United States is on, where they are already seeing their health services completely disrupted. These are sacrifices that we make now that will save us in the long run. They're very difficult to get into different habits, hugging, kissing, shaking hands. Practice now. With respect to how you interact with other people, practice now. Keep that distance. do games differently as children. You might need to be playing online more. You might need to be sitting apart and doing things differently. But it's not business as usual. I cannot stress that enough.
So what outdoor activities are okay for kids to do?
Oh, look, anything which keeps kids 1.5, 2 metres apart. It's tricky, and each parent will have to make a judgment about how old their kid is and how well they understand that. But they shouldn't be going into circumstances where kids will all of a sudden be in very close contact and potentially transmitting to adults, other adults in particular, but also to each other.
What is your medical advice for things like funerals?
Again, I would encourage people to find alternative means of celebrating someone's life at a funeral. If there's a streaming service that a funeral service can provide, all the better. These are at-risk circumstances. If people are gathering together, it doesn't matter if it's a funeral or a wedding, that risk is there. You just need to try and stay apart from people. If people are attending in person, again, within the kind of policy constraints that we're trying to say, stay apart.
And then in terms of weddings, how far into the future should we be cancelling those?
I think we have to, put on hold now plans until we know more. We haven't seen this play out yet. It's very difficult to lock something in and say that'll be certain to be okay. So I would put things on hold. It's very challenging for people, but you don't want to be in a circumstance where you lock in, hundreds of people potentially coming together thinking that can happen when in fact it won't be able to.